So we understand there might be some pretty big changes coming to the Artemis program. I wonder if you can walk us through what those are.
Look, we're trying to get back to the moon. We need to get back to the moon. We've been working at it for an incredibly long time. We have an incredible mandate now. President Trump's national space policy said not only return to the moon, but build a base so you have an opportunity to stay and continue to realize its scientific, economic potential. The issue is we're not launching rockets fast enough. It's actually rather interesting. Spent some time looking over the history of NASA and our evolution from Mercury to Gemini to Apollo. Lots of programs, lots of missions. We didn't go right to Apollo 11. What you might find fascinating, even through the shuttle era, we would launch our NASA-designed rockets on a cadence of almost every 3 months. The SLS vehicle that we are going to use for America's return to the moon, including Artemis 2, which will launch in a matter of weeks, which will be a really exciting mission, we're on pace to launch every 3.5 years. I mean, really stark difference from where our history has gone. And as a result, you're running into a lot of issues. So Artemis 1, the uncrewed demonstration, hydrogen leaks, helium leaks. Artemis 2, we get out to the pad, hydrogen leaks, we fixed it, we're ready to go, helium leak. So, and that shouldn't be surprising. I mean, we all lose muscle memory, skills atrophy. So kind of our big announcement is we're going to get back to the basics. We're going to start launching rockets with frequency. We're going to get into a great cadence with SLS. So we will launch Artemis 2 in a matter of weeks. We will add a mission in 2027 where we're going to launch Orion into low Earth orbit, rendezvous with one or both of our landers. So you've got Blue Origin making a lander, you have SpaceX that's making a lander. We're going to rendezvous dock, use that as an opportunity to stress test the vehicle, make sure it's performing as we expect, maybe even do some tests of our EVA suit, the XEVA suit for the moon. And that will set us up for further success when we attempt a landing with up to 2 opportunities. We're preparing for 2 potential landing opportunities in 2028 for Artemis 4 and 5.
Is this a matter of getting the SLS back on track? I mean, this is a rocket that's famously been over budget and behind schedule. And do you think a yearly launch cadence is actually realistic?
I think it's 100% achievable. And a couple weeks ago, we had a press conference and we shared the independent investigation as it related to the Starliner mishap. And while the headlines may have talked a lot about our partner in that, almost my whole speech was about NASA. When we encounter problems or challenges, like SLS, for example, which, yes, it's a program that is behind schedule, that the taxpayers have put lots of money into, it's way over budget. What could we have done different at NASA? So when I talk about getting us, getting this program back on track, being able to launch missions on a yearly cadence, I'm not blaming our partners or manufacturers in it. We should have made better decisions. Years ago, we should have made better decisions and said, you don't go from Artemis 2 to landing on the moon with Artemis 3. Literally you're saying, okay, we're going to go back to the moon with Apollo 8 and then Apollo 11. It didn't work that way. NASA achieves the near impossible doing it in an evolutionary way, learning. We're going to get there in steps, continue to take down risk as we learn more and we roll that information into subsequent designs. We got to get back in that business, get back to basics. So I think this is on us. I put a workforce directive out about a month ago that said NASA's got to rebuild our core competencies. We know how to turn that pad, faster than every 1.5 or 3 years. We used to do it with a shuttle all the time. So we're going to bring the talent back into the organization. We're going to regain muscle memory. We're going to increase launch rate. We're going to standardize the vehicle. Each one cannot be a work of art. We got to get to a common Block 1 configuration. That's how we're going to be able to go fast. And we got to launch more missions. We got to learn, and that's how we're going to get back to the moon.
It seems to me, though, this is also about much more than just the SLS rocket. I mean, adding this other mission allows you to practice and maybe get better the way we did during the Apollo era. How much of that is a factor? And doesn't that also get to safety and making sure that by the time you're trying to land on the moon, you can do it safely?
You're 100% right. I mean, again, this is, you go back to the space program of the 1960s when we knew so little, but achieved, again, the near impossible. And how'd we do it? We did it in an evolutionary way. Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, a lot of Apollo missions till 11, and we were launching almost every 3 months. And some of those programs we were launching almost every 2 months. Most people don't even know this. The timing between Apollo 7 and 8 was like 9 weeks. 9 weeks apart. So we know how to do this. We just need to rebuild the talent internally. And you're absolutely right. When you regain these core competencies and you start exercising your muscles, you don't let your skills do not atrophy, it's safer. And yes, you are buying down risk because you are able to test things in low Earth orbit before you need to get to the moon, which is exactly what we did during the Apollo era.
But during the Apollo era, which you keep mentioning, they had 4% or more of the national budget. You don't have nearly that. So how do you make it happen without that?
And it's a great point, right? Now, what's different then versus now? Well, we knew nothing about it. NASA was brand new. I mean, we created the agency to go out and achieve, to change the world in air and space. It's different. We do have, 60 years of experience. Industry has evolved. If we needed valves back then, we had to build the shops and make them ourselves. I mean, we were truly the only game in town. Well, now we do have lots of partners and they do have lots of experience. So that should mean some of this should cost less. The taxpayers should be getting greater value today than they did long ago. We have a lot of private capital. I mean, you take SpaceX, Blue Origin, they are both putting in far more of their resources than what we're actually paying them for those vehicles. So everybody's contributing to an endeavor that can change the world. We can increase launch rate. We can standardize, increase launch rate, and achieve our objectives, and we don't need more money to do it.
Speaking of SpaceX and Blue Origin, can they do this? Can they pull this off? Starship, the vehicle that would land on the moon, is something like 160, 170 feet tall. It's a 17-story building. Blue Origin hasn't flown people, other than a suborbital tourism flight. Do you have confidence that these companies will be able to deliver?
Well, I'll tell you, and I've said this publicly, competition is a really good thing. Right now, the United States, we have a great rival, and we are not going to have the schedule margin like we had in the 1960s. In the end, we got to the moon before the Soviets did, and it turned out we had all the time in the world thereafter because no one's been back since America did it. Competition is good for us. Competition is good across industry. I know that both SpaceX and Blue Origin are really excited to achieve this. And the nice thing is the technology that they're pursuing is not about planting the flag and picking up the rocks. The capabilities they're both pursuing is what allows us to put lots of mass on the moon, to build the moon base, to be able to go there and stay. Do I have confidence in their ability to achieve it? Yes. Do they need help? For sure. We need to work like crazy to enable flight rate. I mean, we do have to clear obstacles and clear out bureaucracy, anything that impedes progress, because both of them need to be able to launch a lot. We need to provide subject matter expertise. What they're trying to do in the case of on-orbit cryo-prop transfer is complicated. How can NASA help? That's what we should be looking at it. But we've got plenty we got to take care of on our own. We got to get our launch rate up, like I said, on SLS. We got to help our suit teams out. There is a lot. We got to bring back in talent. I mean, 75% of the workforce right now is contractors on top of the 5 prime contractors and subcontractors. We got to regain the core capabilities that America entrusts us to be able to do at NASA as the world's most accomplished space agency.
So you are deliberately pitting Elon Musk's SpaceX against Jeff Bezos's Blue Origin in an effort to help propel us further and faster.
Well, this was always the plan. I mean, really, the moment you awarded a second lander, I don't think it was lost on either player that, hey, whoever has the vehicle that's ready and safely able to take American astronauts to the moon is going to have an opportunity to do that. I think they've both been investing heavily in that mindset. I'm actually focusing much more on NASA right now. I think a lot of the situation we find ourselves in today, where we might only have a year of margin before our rival gets to the moon, is because of our decision making. We could have made decisions years ago saying probably makes sense to launch a moon rocket with a cadence greater than every 3 years. We're fixing that now. So my attention's on the things that NASA can control. I'm certainly helping our partners any way we can.
Why is it important to beat China back to the moon? I mean, a lot of people could say we won the space race in 1969 when we went there. What is at stake with this space race with China?
Well, then we should have said that. We should have said it 35 years ago. We should have said we did it. The moon, there is nothing of scientific or economic value. There's no national security implications. We're done with the moon. We're focused on Mars. I would have been fine with that 35 years ago. Maybe the American people would. I don't necessarily believe it's the right answer, because I do think there is scientific economic value of being on the moon. I do think it's a great proving ground for us to understand, in situ resource manufacturing, the capabilities that are going to be necessary for when we go to Mars. And the difference is you're a couple days coming from home instead of 9 months. But we didn't. We said we were going to go back. We made a promise to the American people 35 years ago. We spent over $100 billion. We should do it. NASA people say we're a soft power. There are national security implications. You bet there are. If after 35 years and $100 billion we come up short, that sends a message. It says something is broken, and I wonder what else is broken. And people start to encroach on across all the important technological domains. But the inverse is true if you do it, right? It makes people wonder, I wonder what else America is capable of doing, and maybe we'll think twice before we encroach where we shouldn't on that. So this is a serious, it's a responsibility we take very seriously.
How much do we know about China's plans? How closely do you follow that? They said they were going to get astronauts to the moon by 2030, which some could read, before 2030. How closely are you tracking that?
Well, I think the Chinese are putting their space capabilities on display. So I mean, this is on X. You can go on internet. You can read the news articles. These aren't secrets. They just tested the in-flight abort capability of their Long March 10 not that long ago. They've been doing reusable demonstrations that look pretty under control. They've demonstrated their lander, in obviously a terrestrial test. They put their suits on display. So they're not hiding this. They're saying, look, we are committed to this. And look, they don't have some of the baggage. We have decades of history here that after we did achieve our great feat in 1969, we started doing lots of things. They are focused on one thing right now, at least with respect to their civil space program, and that gives them an advantage.
I'm going to go back to the news of the day and you inserting this other mission, Artemis 3, as a sort of a test demo. How many astronauts will be on board? What will they be doing? They'll be docking with the lunar lander, but in low Earth orbit. Will they fly freely in the lunar lander? Can you give us a little bit more detail about what that mission will look like?
Sure. So we have not defined all of the mission objectives, but to say that it's imperative to keep a good launch cadence going with SLS and Orion, no question, goes to safety. It's how we learn. So at minimum, we are launching in 2027. Now, what helps us get to the moon? Well, for sure, rendezvous and docking with one or ideally both landers. That gives you an opportunity to do some integrated testing of a vehicle that we are going to depend upon the following year to take those astronauts down to the surface of the moon. It's an opportunity to do some interface testing with our EVA suits, actually have the suits in microgravity. Even if we don't go outside the vehicle in them, you get a lot of good learning from that. So, how far we'll eventually take that, I think that's something we're going to build out with our partners when we get a better sense of their availability. But I would say it is absolutely imperative that we launch that low Earth orbit, rendezvous and docking with those landers in 2027. And you said you're adding one mission. We're going farther than that. We have to be prepared to be able to launch 2 missions in 2028.
Just staying with Artemis 3 for a minute, you said ideally Orion would dock with both lunar landers, with both SpaceX and Blue Origin. What happens if one of them isn't ready?
You would still take the mission. So we could certainly wait if you did think that the timing would work out. I mean, they're both looking to do uncrewed landing demonstrations as part of the existing agreement. So we want to just take advantage of this to set up both vendors for future success on a lunar landing, set up America for success to return to the moon. This is the proper way to do it. If it works out from a timing perspective to be able to rendezvous and dock with both, we should absolutely do that. If it becomes clear one would not necessarily be available and the other is, and we're able to do it, we have to do that as well. I mean, this again is the right way to proceed in order to have a high confidence opportunity in 28 to land.
But in order to get 2 flights in 2028, which is what you're talking about, which is astounding, what makes you think you can do that? What has changed at NASA? Because Vice President Pence said in 2019 that humans were going to land on the moon in 2024. That was an ambitious timeline. What you're saying is ambitious, and what makes you think it can really happen this time?
Well, we're properly armed. We have a national space policy. When the president doesn't write those in solo. That's the contributions from all of government that weigh in, that make a commitment. We have to do it on when other agencies have when a national space, when a executive order is written for another government agency, NASA weighs in if we have, some stake in it. The point is, it's alignment. Everybody gets around it and says we're going to do this, and then you've got the one big beautiful bill funding. I mean, that was a substantial plus up to exploration. That gave us the dollars to be able to go back to our SLS vendors and say, look, you have to find a way to pull in your timelines. It's got to happen on this. It's also an opportunity to bring in the talent. That's key. If you're turning the launch pad every 18 months, the game's up. It doesn't work. But we know how to do it in less than a year because we've done it before during the shuttle era. We got to bring some of that talent back into the organization. And yes, if you wind up launching Artemis 3 in mid-2027, you now have an opportunity to turn that pad, launch in early 2028 if you have availability, and then you have late 2028 again for another landing potential opportunity.
And for Artemis 2, the mission that's going to fly around the moon but not land, hopefully in a few weeks, that crew was picked some years ago, and they've been training ever since.
Yes.
When will you announce the crew for this mission if it's coming up just in a year from now?
Yeah, I imagine we're gonna rightfully put our energy towards Artemis 2. There's a lot to learn from that. Believe it or not, the experiences of that crew, what they learn, what they may find, could inform the crew we select for Artemis 3. That's why we do the flights the way we do. So it could come back and say what we encountered in that vehicle is going to require some with a background or specialization that we want to put in Artemis 3, or maybe, depending on who the whichever lander could be available. Again, ideally both. We have subject matter expert astronauts that have been working alongside those landers for a long time. So we're going to focus on Artemis 2. We're going to get that crew back safely. We're going to learn from it, and then we're going to move on to Artemis 3.
And for Artemis 4, landing on the moon, and then presumably Artemis 5, where do we stand on the first woman thing? For a long time, there was talk of having a woman be part of that crew. Is that still a priority?
Well, I'd say you're always going to select a crew that gives you the best chance to complete the mission. Now, I don't know if you saw the last astronaut candidate class was greater than 50% female candidates. NASA's got a lot of really accomplished, talented female astronauts in the Corps already. Just the odds alone, you say you're picking 4 people that are highly qualified, you almost assuredly have a female in it.
And we've seen a sort of a shift in tone from Elon Musk at SpaceX, talking about the moon being the priority, when for SpaceX it had always been Mars. Jeff Bezos has also said they're dedicating a lot of resources to the moon program. Have you talked to them about this, to Jeff and Elon, about getting America back to the moon and doing it quickly to beat China?
Well, at various times, I've certainly spoken with them, and in fact, last week I've spoken to every single prime contractor that's on the Artemis program to make sure we have proper alignment. And I have to say, very thankful that everyone is aligned. Across Congress, the president, everybody understands the importance now is we're going to return to the moon and we're going to stay. So very grateful for that. I think if you with respect to SpaceX that has ambitions to go to Mars, which we all do. We want to certainly see the president's vision of American astronauts playing the stars and stripes on Mars. Is you're going to learn a lot in the moon. You really are. You're not getting home from Mars. Look, in my opinion, it certainly requires nuclear power on the surface of Mars, but you're going to have to make your own propellant. We have an opportunity to do that on the South Pole of the moon. We have an opportunity to do real in situ resource manufacturing without an atmosphere, not under 1G. That is certainly going to prove to be very helpful in de-risking subsequent Mars missions.
Talking about Artemis 2, which is the mission that could be just a matter of weeks away, how confident are you that it actually will go in April and not be pushed out again?
Look, it's a great question. We were all extremely confident after Wet Dress 2. Wet Dress 1, there was very little chance on that. We knew, hey, we hadn't launched this thing. We hadn't put, we never put, we never cryoproofed, went through cryo ATP on it. The first time the vehicle had cryogenic propellant on it was during Wet Dress. And then with the issues we had on Artemis 1, 3+ years earlier, we knew we were going to have issues on that. So that wasn't that surprising. Replacing the seals, getting a second, with the mindset of we think we know that, we're going to know for sure this time what went wrong and fix it. The leak rates dropped materially. Some of the lowest ones we've ever seen. It went so well, Wet Dress 2. So it was like, we're going to go there. We're going to start getting ready to send invites out. Completely unexpected development happens on Saturday. So, confidence was extremely high after the second Wet Dress. Now we're going to get back in the VAB. This is a failure signature we've seen before, which is unfortunate. It means we didn't fully understand it previously. We're going to do the same thing we did with the hydrogen leak, really get a great understanding of it, make sure we fix it, and then go back out to the pad. Considering how close we were before, I'm optimistic for April.
For the moon landings now, which are Artemis 4 and 5,
yes,
is that still using the same architecture of SLS, Orion, and then one of the landers?
Yes, other than to say we are, as part of this strategy, we are standardizing. So in its current path, there's a lot of evolutionary steps with SLS. where you're changing out upper stages, you're changing out the launch pads. We're not doing that. We are standardizing it because you're not going to increase flight rate if every single time you're launching what could be a different rocket. It just doesn't make sense at this point. So we're going to standardize to what we're calling like a near Block 1 configuration. We're going to get very good at turning mobile launcher 1's pad. And that's what's giving us the confidence. So throughout the next 5 minutes, or Artemis 2, 3, 4, and 5.
And then after Artemis 5, is it possible it goes to a commercial rocket?
It's also possible Artemis
Starship?
6 is SLS. I mean, I would like to believe, and I've said it publicly many times, the President Trump created Artemis, the program, not the vehicles. The architecture from Artemis 2 through Artemis 100 will evolve over time, and it has to evolve to become more affordable so you can undertake frequent launches. Nobody wants to see people on the moon every couple of years. Nobody wants to see it every year. You want to see it almost all the time. You have to work towards that continuous presence the president calls for in his national space policy. So yes, I think we're going to have more reusable rockets in the mix, and I think you're going to see missions going to the moon with great frequency. I mean, measured in months, not years.
Do you worry that the public loses interest? The public lost interest in the Apollo program almost immediately after Apollo 11. Do you worry about that now?
Well, I think we're at the beginning of that story right now, which is we're about to go back, and I think people are pretty excited about it. Now, I think if it's affordable and economical, now in the 1960s, you pointed out, it was 4.5% of the discretionary budget. It's a different game, and fully reusable vehicles, whether that's at Artemis 6 or 8, is going to materially reduce the cost. But there's another ingredient that's required, and that's the orbital economy. Whether it happens in low Earth orbit or on the lunar surface, and we have a lunar economy, we've got to do something where we can get more value out of space and the lunar surface than we put into it. And that's how you really ignite an economy, and that's how everything we want to do in space is not perpetually dependent on taxpayers.